So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. iPhone 12 versus iPhone XR. In this episode, I'm going to help you decide if you should upgrade your iPhone XR over to the iPhone 12. Now, the first thing you're going to notice about the iPhone 12 is just how much thinner the bezels are. We're talking an 86% screen to body ratio versus 79. All that means is that you have much more screen, or at least it feels that way, even though they're a similar size on the iPhone 12. Now, it does have squared edges. This is going to take you back to the iPhone 5 days, or maybe even make you feel like you're using the iPad Pro in a smaller form factor in the iPhone series. Now, the bezels, again, definitely noticeable for the iPhone XR, and the sides are a lot different. It's got more of the iPhone X sides here, so that's definitely noticeable. And then really, you're just going to notice that the iPhone 12 just kind of feels lighter. 164 grams versus 194 grams. Just a much more manageable size, I think, than the XR. Even though it has a 6.1, it's just more portable than that device. So the iPhone 12, overall, a very nice refinement. It had 2 generations to make some refinements over the XR, and it does pretty well. Now, you're going to pay $799 for this phone on the iPhone 12, and you're only going to pay $499 right now for the XR. So you got to decide if that $300 difference is worth it. Now, what is worth it though is the iPhone 12's display. Super Retina XDR OLED HDR, 625 nits and a 1200 nit peak. This one gets way brighter, especially outdoors. You can see it much better. It's also a much sharper display at 2532 by 1170 for a 460 ppi, so definitely a lot more resolution. And of course, it's got True Tone dark mode, you know, the usual stuff you're used to. So this one right here on the XR, just an LCD, 625 nits, so pretty good brightness, but this phone doesn't have nowhere near the same level of pixels, so 326 pixels. If you put these side by side, it's kind of noticeable that the XR is just not competing very well with the iPhone 12. So the 12, a major upgrade in display, and one that I really think is a good deal for the price range compared to, say, the 12 Pro, which is $1,000 for a similar display. Now, in terms of software, both are running the latest 14.4.1, but they both basically give you the same experience whether you're using the 12 or the XR. iOS across Apple's devices that are updated feels basically the same, so you're not going to notice much of a difference. But where you will notice a difference is that the camera has a few more features on the iPhone 12, and you know, you're going to have longer software support. So it really just comes down to how long do you need to run the latest software from Apple. If you do, you definitely want to consider the upgrade. If not, you'll probably be fine with the XR, because most people will put these side by side and think they're using the same exact phone. And the A12 has been doing pretty good on the XR in terms of performance, but it cannot beat the iPhone 12's A14 Bionic at 5 nanometer. A couple generations newer here, and you can see the scores definitely pushing more of a MacBook level for the 5G iPhone 12 versus the XR. Now, the XR is no chump though. That phone is actually quite fast, faster than a lot of Android phones out there, but still, the iPhone 12 is a very fast upgrade over the XR. So if you're looking for the most speed, you definitely want to consider making that switch over to the iPhone 12. And then when talking about storage, they both have a capability of getting up to 256 gigabytes, and the iPhone XR, definitely you can only find it at 128 at Apple, but if you look around, you could find it in 256 gig. But unlike the iPhone 12 Pro, the 12 still starts at 64 gigs, and they both come with a good amount of RAM, but the 12 gives you 4 gigs of RAM versus 3. Now, the cameras is what most people might be upgrading for, and you're getting that extra 12 megapixel ultra wide. They both have 12 megapixels, but even the main sensor is a f1.6 on the iPhone 12, and you do have a night mode, so it's definitely a little bit better at nighttime, actually a lot better. But you can download some apps to get better nighttime photos. But let's just take a look at the iPhone 12's camera. Every time you pull this thing out, it just knows what to do. With the combination of Apple's improvements before, like the Smart HDR from the XR, and then whatever they did with the iPhone 11 series, you can see that they're even better now with the 4K 60 on the front and the rear. They added HDR video as well. So what you're going to notice about the 12 is that it gives you a much more brighter overall photo, and you could see that when you take a photo, everything just turns out perfectly. Basically, the focus is on point, and definitely I think if you're looking for an upgrade, this is where you're going to want to put your money over the 10R. However, if you really want a better camera, you should probably even consider the Pros, because they have that extra telephoto. But the 10R is shockingly good still here in 2021, and when I did these side-by-side photo comparisons, I couldn't believe how close the 10R was to the 12, and just good lighting you're going to see here in a minute. But overall, I just found that the 12 takes brighter, more acceptable photos, a little bit sharper as well. And I think if you do care about camera, this will probably immediately noticeable when you do get your iPhone 12. But the 10R still holds its own for 2021. Take a look at these samples and let me know your thoughts on how these two perform. And how could we forget about battery life? This is an area where the iPhone 12 actually falls a little bit short to the iPhone XR, and the main reason is that, first of all, it has a smaller battery, but that's not the real reason. It's because of 5G typically drains a little bit more, and I feel like the iPhone XR just was one of the biggest battery champs I've ever seen on an iPhone, even though it's not that much larger of a battery. The iPhone 12 does fast charge a little bit faster at 20 watts versus 15. They both have wireless charging, but there's no charger in the box with the iPhone 12. And when it comes to audio, what I notice is that the top speaker is a little bit louder for the iPhone 12, but they both have stereo sound, no headphone jacks here. So if you're looking for a pretty solid audio experience, both of them are going to give you this here. And Face ID on both of these is also pretty exceptional. However, you can probably swipe it open from a few more angles on the iPhone 12. Every generation it gets slightly better, but not mostly noticeable to consumers. In terms of phone call quality and reception, this is an area that's actually visually noticeable on the surface for the iPhone 12. You're definitely going to see it in your day-to-day experience that you just have better reception for the iPhone 12 versus the XR. The XR sometimes would just have lower bars pretty much everywhere at once, so I was a little bit shocked by that. But I gotta say, if you're looking for an upgrade in mobile performance, this is one of the key areas you might want to consider. So should you upgrade the XR, or should you just keep it, or should you get an iPhone 12? I think if you're looking for better cameras, you definitely want to go ahead and do this even now if you need these better cameras. If your iPhone XR broke, you probably want to go ahead and do it now. If somebody dropped it and broke the glass or something, it's definitely a good upgrade to the 12. But we're so far into the cycle now, you might want to just consider waiting for the 13 if you've held out this long, because the XR is still a very functional, usable phone. Some people are still using older phones in this and getting by, iPhones in this and getting by, so it's really not a major problem to keep using the XR, and the 13 will improve even more on the iPhone 12, or maybe they'll call it the 12s, who knows the name yet. But let me know what you're gonna do here, and if you found this video helpful, entertaining, informing, do me a favor, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up down below, and subscribe if you haven't already. Nick here, be sure to be well. I'll catch you all in the next one, and peace.